Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. So, as the war on the ground continues to stagnate, as we have seen continued lack of success by Ukrainian forces counterattacking, especially on the Zaporizhzhia front. We know that the Ukrainians have taken horrendous casualties, including the loss of up to 30% of Western donated equipment that has been given to the Ukrainians. We have seen the destruction of Leopard 2s. We have seen a large amount of destroyed Bradley infantry fighting vehicles. We have seen Swedish CV-90s being captured. We have seen a host of Ukrainian equipment, again, donated by its Western handlers, captured or destroyed in this ongoing conflict. So over the last 24 to 48 hours, the Ukrainians are attempting to reshape the narrative. The political propaganda war. The Ukrainians have launched attacks against Russian surface vessels, not this time, not in Sevastopol, but much farther away. They have attacked targets near the port city of Novorossiysk in this area here. Novorossiysk? Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Probably not, and I apologize. But we have seen Ukrainian drones, semi-submersible drones attack possibly 2 Russian targets within the confines, or at least within the environments of this very large and sprawling port facility. We have seen both military targets attacked, and then we have also seen civilian shipping get attacked as well. The Ukrainians allege that one of the cargo vessels transporting fuel, the Ukrainians are stating that that ship was transporting petroleum products, petrol, to Russian forces in the Crimea. Now, we can't prove that. We don't know if that's in fact true or not, but we do know the Ukrainians have reached out very, very far from its operational areas near Odessa, Mykolaiv, and some other areas along the coast of Ukraine, and have hit these targets. Again, if we look at the drones that are being used, this is in large part what the Ukrainians are using. These very low-profile attack drones that pack very large amounts of explosives. Now, we don't know if these specific drones that you see here on your screen were the actual ones being used. We do have video footage of the actual drone attack. This was done against a Russian military transport ship on Rapucha that was attacked by the Ukrainian attack drone, the waterborne attack drone. Now, again, very interesting is the fact that the Ukrainians are attacking these targets at such great distance. If we look at the port area, or just to the outside of the port area, and we trace our steps all the way back to the port of Odessa, and you can see that's 722 kilometers, if that is in fact the route that these Ukrainian attack drones indeed took. So the question is how are the Ukrainians achieving, number one, this sort of distance, the ability to have these fairly small waterborne attack drones go over such a great distance, and even more important, is how are the Ukrainians targeting these Russian vessels at such a great distance? Well, the answer is simple. The Ukrainians are receiving constant real-time data, constant real-time surveillance information coming from United States assets, be it spy satellites, reconnaissance aircraft, drones, what have you. The Ukrainians are absolutely getting that information. Secondly, how is the drone? How are these attack drones? How are they maintaining a data link with their handlers on shore? Well, in all probability, the United States, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, has established some sort of satellite uplink with these surface-borne attack drones. In all probability, it would not surprise me that large defense subcontractors, large defense contractors such as Lockheed Martin, other defense companies in the United States are actively helping the Ukrainians build these systems. I can tell you, I know for certain, and I've received this little bit of intel, actually firsthand knowledge, that elements inside of Lockheed Martin subsurface warfare had reached out to electric vehicle manufacturers here in the United States with interest in reference to high performance electric motors. So very interesting to know that, while at the same time we're seeing these attacks take place against Russian targets. Now, are these electric boats? Difficult to say. Do they have a hybrid propulsion system, both a combustion engine and then possibly an electric drive in them as well? We just don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me if, in fact, that there has been a technology transfer to the Ukrainians, or some of these larger defense subcontractors are actively helping the Ukrainians in building and then deploying these systems. The data links are, without a doubt, with certainty, are being provided to the Ukrainians, and especially the satellite link. Now, I don't believe there's any other way for these vessels to operate at such a great distance with a man in the loop, so to speak, guiding these systems towards those targets at such great distance. So again, in all probability, some sort of satellite uplink was created to allow the Ukrainians to operate these vessels at such a great distance and then receive real-time video data as they attacked these vessels, as they attacked these Russian vessels. But again, we think that the Ukrainians are in part doing this. Obviously, it is part of their war effort, and those are legitimate targets, obviously, for the Ukrainians to target. But again, it is becoming more advantageous for the Ukrainians to go after some of these higher profile targets, some of these seaborne targets, to take away the public perception of what is happening in Zaporizhzhia. And ultimately, while the Ukrainians have had success in attacking these Russian ships, is it going to change the overall dynamic of the war? Is it going to change the end game? Probably not. Probably not. But it does create an attention grabber, where people aren't looking at what is happening from Zaporizhzhia east to Volhodar. Again, very difficult recent series of defeats for the Ukrainians. A lot of manpower lost, a lot of equipment lost. And finally, this is what concerns me. is Ukraine is being portrayed as this bastion of democracy, where transparency is open, and we know that's not the case. The concern I have is how casualties are being reported. If the United States were to get into a very large conflict with a near-peer adversary, such as the Chinese, maybe the Russians, would techniques that stifle information about casualties, about the actual war effort, would those techniques be transferred, and would we see that here in the United States? We have seen the Biden administration, a criminal organization that I believe is now running the country. I don't believe Joe Biden per se is running the country. I believe there is a committee of people that is now running the United States. And I fear that if the United States were to enter a state of war, large-scale conflict with another nation state, we could see the United States under the Biden slash far left committee that is running the United States now adopt some of these techniques that we are seeing in Ukraine, meaning hiding casualties, not reporting casualties, disallowing accurate information on what is happening within the confines of the conflict. That concerns me. The United States in past wars has always been fairly transparent in casualties and allowing the American people to understand and see just what was happening in a conflict. And ultimately, the American people decide if us, the United States, should be in said conflict. But if the current regime that's in power enters into conflict, enters into war with another nation state, would they hide American casualties, much like is happening within this conflict in terms of the casualties that the Ukrainians are sustaining? Now, I get it, the Russians are doing the same thing, and I know that's happening. But my concern isn't about the Russians, it's not about the Ukrainians. At the end of the day, is what we see happening in Ukraine, could that happen in the United States in terms of disallowing adequate reporting, accurate reporting on what is happening in the conflict? I think we need to think about that as Americans. So that's it for today. Again, thank you for joining us. More to come very, very soon. And as always, have a good day.